Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Can you hear me good? Okay. So the finding I will be talking about is a collaboration with my colleagues Oana Kobutaro and Maxim Peter from Open Zeppelin. Open Zeppelin was founded in 2015. We are known for our open source contract libraries, for the Defender developer security platform, and for supporting the security of more than 1,000 crypto protocols and organizations. Particularly our team and myself, we are part of the ZKP practice team within Open Zeppelin, and we are focused on researching, reviewing, and auditing of ZKP-related implementations. We have performed successful audits on the settlement layer, on the sequencing layer, and on the proving layer as well. And that's exactly the proving layer is what I will be talking about. So a bit of history on the finding. It is the outcome of an audit that we were doing for Linea, and we found their inconsistency or bug in their implementation of their Plonk verifier. It exploits the improper implementation of the Fiat-Shamir transform, and Fiat-Shamir transform has often problems when implemented in practice. So initially we had a theoretical concern on the finding that was later proven also in practice through a proof of concept implementation. It was promptly communicated and fixed. So to get a bit of taste of the finding, can you solve this system of equations? So if you have a look at it, you have x and y as the unknowns, and then a, b, c, u, and k are constants. So the solution is on the second block. It's a linear system of two equations, two linear equations in two unknowns. So it's trivial to solve even for the less mathematically sophisticated among us. And if you are able to follow the solution, then you already know almost everything about the last challenge attack. So in the rest of the slides, I will slowly opening the quantities in these equations. So the main idea of the attack, as I said, it targets the Fiat-Shamir transform the way it is implemented in a Plonk verifier. It concentrates in particular on the last challenge of the Fiat-Shamir transform. And as a result, a malicious prover can forge a false proof that will be accepted by the verifier. So he can do this by modifying the public input, but not necessarily. So the outline of my talk until the end is I briefly give the setting in which we are working. This is scaling Ethereum. I briefly introduce then the Fiat-Shamir transform and a very simplified introduction of the Plonk zero-knowledge argument system. Then I present our attack, and I end with some implications and takeaways. So this is the setting we are working in. It's a layer 2 ZK rollup, in which we have a bunch of transactions that are batched together on layer 2. They are hashed into a Merkle tree. The hash represents the post-state root of the chain on layer 1. So the hash together with a concise description of the transactions plus ZK proof pi is pushed on layer 1. And on layer 1, the proof is verified, and the chain, if it verifies correctly, the chain makes a successful transition from its pre-state root to its post-state root. So a few words about the Fiat-Shamir transform. It's a way to make interactive protocol into a non-interactive one. So on the slide, on the left-hand side, you see a simple 3-round protocol, an interaction between a prover and a verifier. So initially, the prover commits to some polynomial. He sends the commitment to the verifier. The verifier chooses uniformly at random a challenge, sends it to the prover. The prover evaluates the polynomial on this challenge, sends back the evaluation together with the proof of it, and the prover accepts or rejects. So on the right-hand side, you can see the same protocol transformed into a non-interactive protocol composed of a single round by using the Fiat-Shamir transform. So what happens there is first the prover commits to the polynomial as before, but then to produce the challenge, he hashes the commitment to the polynomial. And then, using the challenge, he again evaluates the polynomial and sends the evaluation to the verifier together with the proof. So on the verifier side, the verifier independently computes the same challenge by hashing the commitment, because he also has the commitment. And then he is in a position to verify the proof. So you can see the two are independent now, and they just need a single round from prover to verifier. A few words about Plonk. It's a zero-knowledge argument system, and it is used to compute a succinct proof pi. It takes as inputs a structured reference string, an arithmetic circuit, a witness, which is essentially composed of the values of the internal computation of the circuit, and these values are known only to the prover, and it also contains a public input. The public input is composed of values that are known both to the prover and to the verifier, and the output of the protocol is the succinct proof pi, verifying that the prover really knows a witness, which in itself testifies to the fact that the evaluation was performed correctly. So just for your information, but it's not strictly necessary to follow the attack, the proof is composed of two types of elements. So one is commitments. We denote them as square brackets x. So those commitments represent elliptic curve points, basically. And the second type of elements, these are openings of the commitments, which are scalar field elements. So brief description of the Plonk prover, only the relevant parts for the attack. So it goes in rounds, in 5 rounds in particular. And so the first column shows you the number of the round. So the most relevant columns for you are the following 3 columns, so 2, 3, and 4. So in column 2, you have the Fiat-Shamir challenges that are input to the round. In column 3, you have the transcript, which represents the elements that will become part of the proof that were computed during this round. And in the last column, you have the Fiat-Shamir challenges computed at the end of the given round. So you proceed further to round 2. It takes as input the challenges computed in the previous round. It produces some new elements in the proof, which we denote again transcript 2. And in the last column, it produces some new challenge. But notice that the challenge is produced as the hash of the whole transcript before that. So at round 1, we're hashing just T1. At round 2, we're hashing T1 and T2. We go on like this. Round 4, we are hashing T1, T2, T3, T4. We produce new challenges, we push them as input to the next round, and we reach the final round where we produce the final challenge, the last challenge, U, as the hash of the full transcript. So the proof is composed of all the elements from the transcript that were produced up to this point. Now, but notice something important. The last challenge, U, is never used in a computation by the prover. So if you look at beta, gamma, alpha, zeta, v, all of them, they are input to at least one round of the prover. But that's not the case for U. U is never used by the prover. So then a natural question comes. Can we make the implementation more efficient? Can we even not compute U on the prover side? Can we just compute it on the verifier side? And can we not hash the full transcript? So let's compute U as just the hash of something. As long as it's random, we are happy. So that's exactly what was done in the implementation. U was produced as the hash of some challenges, but not the full transcript as the protocol dictates. So before going into the steps of the attack, just the relevant part of the Plonk verifier. It goes into 12 steps, but what you see here is the last step. So the whole proof verification comes down to checking this bilinear pairing equality. So without going into details of what bilinear pairing are, just keep in mind that the verifier needs to confirm that this equation holds. If it does, the proof is accepted. So for conciseness, we denote the first part of the left pairing as capital A, the first part of the right pairing as capital B. Then we are in a position to describe the attack. The first step is a bootstrapping step in which the malicious prover will generate valid quantities A and B from a circuit of its choice. So he generates a circuit, he generates a valid proof for it, and from it, it extracts those two values A and B, and by construction, the pairing already holds. Then in step 2, he would fix all the green elements of the proof to values of his choice. And an important detail, so he can also modify the public input. it's stronger than this. He can also modify the green elements, but also the public input. That's important because that's the attack that's the example that I will give at the end. So this false proof is now partially constructed beside the two red elements. So these are the commitments to the two polynomials WZ, WZ, omega. So in step 3, the prover will compute the F and E quantity, so the commitments to F and E. And if you look at the upper block on the right-hand side, he needs those F and E quantities in order to proceed further, constructing the proof, and he can compute them out of the green quantities that he has set. So the next step is actually the main part of the attack, and that's exactly where the system of linear equations comes into play. So here the x and y unknown quantities are precisely those two red elements in the proof that the prover still misses in order to fully construct the false proof. So he solves this system of equations for x and y, so for the two w's. A and b are fixed because he have chosen them during the bootstrapping part. U and zeta are challenges that he can compute, and omega is also a quantity that he knows. So P prime, the malicious prover, just substitutes those two elements, x and y, or the two w's, into the false proof P prime. He sends this to the verifier, and it is accepted. So why it is accepted? Well, because we started from a valid proof to begin with, right? So what we did, we just retrofitted the two values, w, the two red quantities, so that they still made the equation to hold. And the reason why we can do this is because the last challenge U is independent of x and y. It is independent of the two w's. And it was not supposed to be like this. It has to be produced as the hash of the full transcript, in particular including the two w's. And if that was the case, we would not be able to have such a simple system and solve it. Okay, and what are the implications of the attack? Keep in mind the slide that I had in the beginning, this layer 2 setting. So now, what the prover can do on layer 2, he can nullify the balances of all the users, and he can set the whole amount of the system to his own account. Then he just hashes those two quantities, he produces a new hash a new root of the Merkle tree, and this is his post-state root. Now, the post-state root is part of the PI, and remember that the attacker has the freedom to modify the PI. So with this data, he constructs the false proof pi prime by the steps that I just described. He sends this to layer 1, and the verifier will successfully accept the false proof pi. And the chain will make a successful transition then to the new post-chain root. So in essence, the malicious prover was able to steal all the funds on layer 2. Okay, this brings me to my summary and takeaways. We presented a new attack on an incorrect implementation of the Fiat-Shamir transform. It exploits the fact that some components of the proof do not depend on the last Fiat-Shamir challenge. So this is not the first attack on Fiat-Shamir. Unfortunately, many implementations get this transform wrong. Some related works are Frozen Heart attack by Trail of Bits and the 0-0 attack by Quan Nguyen. So what are the takeaways? Well, Fiat-Shamir challenges must depend on the entire transcript. So back to my example in particular, U must be computed after the commitments W, omega zeta are fixed, and it must depend on them. So namely, U must be produced as the hash of those commitments plus the other parts of the transcript. And a more general advice, just follow the protocol, because sometimes it is tempting to make what it looks like innocent modifications in the interest of efficiency, but it can result in degraded security. So challenges are challenging, so mind your Fiat-Shamirs. And thank you for your attention. And if you have questions, very happy to answer them.